Oh man, this shirt looks weird. I haven't worn buttons for probably a year. And this is just like on my neck and stuff. I felt I had to get dressed up for this one because it's a little bit of an important story. I've just got back after my first work trip, having lost Qantas Gold frequent flyer perks. I looked through my emails and late 2016 I raced from bronze, silver to gold. So that's 7 years having travelled with the perks. And first flight flying silver, it was a bit rough. But I'm actually okay with it. Let's go back. Whenever I was travelling, I didn't really care about how I got there. It was just like, I want to go surfing, I want to go stay with my mates. So whoever will get me there the easiest, quickest and cheapest, I'm down with that. When I started traveling for work, I'd pay a bit more attention to who the better airlines were because I'd have all of my equipment in probably like a low pro bag or something. Not the most secure way to travel. When I moved into a van, it was just so much easier to drive. I had literally everything I wanted to have with me. So if a job popped up in Port Lincoln and I was in Sydney, I'd just cruise, plan my schedule accordingly. Whatever happened on the way was fine as long as I was there for the client to shoot. And I had no worries about bags getting lost or missing flights or connecting flights or any of that sort of jazz. When I was flying internationally, it was always on the client's dime because that's how my clients would work. So I'd get the itinerary in email and I'd show up where I needed to be, when I needed to be there. I don't care about excess baggage, the client's paying for it, so just get me to where I need to be for work. It's pretty simple. When I started dating my now wife Millie, I was pretty much based in Port Lincoln because I had so much ongoing work with all the aquaculture there. When a job came up in Sydney, I'd stop by in Adelaide on the way for a couple of days and then head off to Sydney and then fairly promptly come straight back to Adelaide because I wanted to hang with Millie. This is 2015 and at that time I was working with a couple of not-for-profits, helping to rebrand their existing catalogues, and we'd need headshots or editorial shoots of the people that they're supporting doing what they do. So that'd be about a 4 or 5 day shoot generally. They wouldn't just get me for a daily. Driving just made sense. When these 4 or 5 day shoots disappeared and turned into dailies, I really didn't have an option to drive because I was getting pretty busy in Port Lincoln as well. So that 23-hour drive over there wasn't really feasible, especially when I'd have to do the daily shoot and then turn around and come straight back. There were 2 airlines in Port Lincoln that I could choose from. One is Rex, one is Qantas. Qantas was more expensive than Rex, so generally I'd go Rex and then transfer onto Jetstar for the Adelaide to Sydney flight. And sometimes I'd cut it pretty close with the connecting when the Rex flight might be delayed or the baggage took a bit longer to get out, and then I'd have to recheck in for Jetstar. It was about this time Millie said, well, why don't you just fly Qantas and get onto their frequent flyer program and make use out of how much you're traveling? Because I'd spent 10 years jumping between airlines, no loyalty, just going by price, I had no idea what the perks of frequent flyers were. When I saw Qantas's with the extra baggage and realizing that when I hit Adelaide, they would just take my bags onto the next flight. It was such a smooth process with Qantas. So signed up to their frequent flyer program and they sent me out this little guy. I could check in online, show up with these things on my bags, and it'd automatically know who I am and where I'm going. I didn't need to print out any of those paper things and do the thing and da-da-da-da-da. It was just like, it's like I found a family. When those trips started getting more and more, Qantas bumped me up to silver, and I was like, this could be viable. I was just like, I'm not even going to look at another airline. Qantas, you are me, I am you. Let's just keep this relationship going. Let's see how far we can get. It was a short 6 months later that I finally made gold and got a couple of these things. My first lounge access was kind of surreal. I actually thought you had to pay for beers. I think I even handed over my credit card and the dude just looked at me just like, these things are free. Like, you've paid us a lot of money, so you can have this. It was probably a $12 beer or something. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, it was just a blur of travel. Probably doing some 30 return trips a year, so 60 odd flights, maybe connections in between, so 70 flights or something. Even though I was getting exhausted from that travel kind of life, I was doing what I wanted to do. I was shooting for Tourism Australia, shooting for National Geographic, had a bunch of my own clients where I was doing the whole package for, bringing in freelancers when I needed, employing my friends, hanging out, making some images, and it was great.
There it is.
Let's see what happens.
If there's one thing that I've gained from this whole freelance to fatherhood thing, try to get some sleep before your kid comes. Mid-2019, Cora was born, and my world shrunk in the best way possible. June is always a silly time of year for my not-for-profit clients, but for some reason they chose to go hard early on in the year. So for the first couple of months of Cora being around, I was around. It was perfect. Start of 2020, it was ramping up again, and I could see the next 6-8 months were going to be straight back to that airport shuffle life. We just finished the Mick Fanning shark doco for National Geographic, and the same crew went off to India to shoot a rhino documentary. I wasn't put forward for that because I'm the water guy, but there was rumours of this COVID thing. And after 18 days on the shark shoot, I was pretty happy to get back to Cora and Millie and our little Adelaide life.
After further consultation with the National Security Committee, a travel ban will be placed on all non-residents, non-Australian citizens coming to Australia, and that will be in place from 9 p.m. tomorrow evening.
3 weeks after I got home, international borders closed. Probably a week after that, state borders closed. It was pretty scary because I fought so hard to keep my existing clients from when I lived in Sydney that I'd completely forgotten about getting clients in South Australia. Over the hill from my house is McLaren Vale, pretty world famous wine region, and Port Lincoln, which was synonymous with sharks. I looked to get into those industries by basically getting on the blower and saying, hey guys, no one can travel at the moment, but I'm local. I don't really like thinking about those times because it was filled with a lot of stress, and I know a lot of people were worse off than me. I think from being freelance for 10 years at this stage, I had a lot of experience of the ebbs and flows, so I was able to roll with the punches. But when it comes to thinking about Qantas Gold, there's a lot of work for something that's probably just going to vanish into thin air. But Qantas being amazing, sent an email saying, we know everything's locked down, we know you've flown a lot of miles and a lot of time sitting in our seats to get to Gold, so we'll give you an extension. 2020 was amazing to just be at home, hanging with Cora and Millie. Luckily, I'd pivoted into wines and sharks, so in a way, the pandemic and lockdown worked out for the best.
What?
The next November came, and at this stage, Qantas was posting like $2 billion loss from having to ground all these planes, so they were in disarray. So they sent out an email saying, hey, we still love you, stick with us, we're going to get through this together, and extended my Gold for another year. I was probably only traveling maybe 8 flights in 2021, and we had fallen pregnant with Finn, and he was due in March 2022. So I knew that my world would shrink even further. So I kept all this quiet and like, thanks Qantas, I'll still fly with you. Don't know when, but I'll still look for you. 2022 came, and I think I had a couple of shark shoots where I should have flown, but ended up just packing all my gear already built into my car and driving the 6 hours. Qantas were like, dude, are you ever going to fly again? But weirdly enough, they gave me yet another extension.
Are you going on that one?
We're going on that one.
That one?
That little one, yeah.
2023 came, and I probably only had 3 or 4 flights. We went to Bali as a family and we flew Jetstar, but even those status credits, if they transfer, I haven't checked, but that wouldn't have been enough to get me to Gold. When November 2023 came around, I was expecting a bit of fanfare from Qantas saying, hey, we can see you're trying, here's another year, but the date came and went without a fuss. I cried a little bit, not gonna lie, because it was just like, oh, that's over. Just got ghosted by Qantas. Not even a goodbye, thanks for the memories, just here's silver. the other week, had a shoot come up in Perth, and it was an experience booking a simple flight to Perth for a shoot. Cost an extra $200, and I didn't have lounge access or premium boarding. Not having lounge access kind of hurt, but I realised that I didn't have to wear shoes anymore. I could wear thongs the entire time from check-in to on the plane. Small wins, you know? It's all about the small wins.
Go. Where's the plane?
I thought it'd be a lot harder saying goodbye to Qantas Gold, but even as exciting as those trips were to get to that level that I was at before, that pales in comparison to a simple day at home with the kids.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, I gotta say, the old life was actually easier than this one. As exhausting as it was, it doesn't hold a candle to how exhausting it is with the kids, but this life is way more fulfilling. So just before you scream at the screen at me, yeah, that's being brutally honest.